Good morning and happy Saturday. Happy weekend, everybody. You're listening to Bold and Blonde. I'm Melody Judge.
I'm Courtney Bieber.
With a mouthful of nuggies.
Already got something in my mouth. You know what I'm saying?
You do. And it's, it's nuggies. It's sausage. We're back together again in the morning.
Together.
And so, just kind of having a little bit of a breakfast snack.
You made eclairs and breakfast.
No, I did not make those.
They're like little sausage, cheese, and egg bites, but they look like chicken nuggies.
They do. They look like chicken nuggies.
They're little crack nuggies.
They are Jimmy Dean.
Oh, they're so good.
From Frank's Piggly Wiggly.
Woo-hoo,
Go
Frank's.
get them. Go get them. They are delish.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we've had some really good guests on the last couple times, and today will not disappoint either.
Today's going to be really good. We got a hottie next to us.
Yes, we do.
Well, she's next to me. She's across from you.
I know, but I can feel the energy. I can feel the love. I can feel the good vibes that Shannon Goodsell puts out into the universe, and we're just picking it up from her. Shannon is joining us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay.
I just wanted to say, you met Shannon through your book club.
No, I really didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Okay. Because then I met Shannon through you, and I forgot how you guys met.
This is an interesting story.
Oh, I love a story.
This is an interesting story. We have been friends, Shannon, for how many? 6 years? 7? It was right before we moved to Wisconsin from Wyoming, I believe, and we've been here for 6 years now.
Okay.
7 years.
Yeah.
So we've been. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
We've been friends for years. I can say years. So go ahead. I mean, you're so fun to. You always tell the story so much better than I do.
Well, interestingly enough, Melody and I were both in a group. I'm sure you've heard of it, Beachbody, because, we were trying to get fit and all.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we find out, Melody says where she lives, and it is only about a half hour from where I live. And we're like, holy shit, we can't be this close.
That's right. We cannot be this close. But isn't that, like, seriously, we met in an online
sure.
exercise class. Exercise class through Beachbody.
Well, make sure to pass me that nugget over there.
Give me another nugget. I mean, seriously, oh my gosh. Seriously though, you cannot even, and I know that happens though, but seriously, then when we moved to Wisconsin, it's just been, and to find out that you're just across the state line, and I'm always trying to pull you over to our to the Wisco side. You are getting closer.
I love it.
Yeah, but so anyway, so you and I, and then another friend lives in Philadelphia. We've kind of stayed. We have stayed friends.
Yes,
from that.
Oh, that's Bridget.
Yes,
oh,
Brigitte.
Okay, or Brigitte. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But she'll be fine with that too.
So that's Beachbody. Okay, I always thought it was book club, but then you joined book club with Melody.
Well, yes, because I first met up with Melody at the fair. We decided to meet in person.
Or was it fair?
It was the fair.
The fair.
And
awesome.
You had on this bright, purplish coat, and Kelly's like, that's got to be one of yours.
She's got to be yours.
She kind of stands out, doesn't she?
Yeah. What coat was that?
And it was we knew each other from that, because just your energy, right? Your energy, your vibe attracts your tribe, however you want to quote it. And it was great. So ever since then, we've done things together. And then when she started the book club, I am Book Nerd 101. I was absolutely all in. So,
very impressive book club. Not book club, but you are very impressed. I'm so impressed with you in your reading, and you have a hefty goal this year.
I do. I am on Goodreads. You guys can find me on there, Shannon Goodsell, if you'd like, so we can be Goodread reader book buddies if you'd like.
Ooh, love that.
And you get to rate the books and see what each other's reading, and you might be out of your genre a little bit, because usually I'm true crime, mystery novels, but there's enough of that going on in the world right now, so I have recently started reading some fantasy books.
Ooh.
Which I've never, ever read. And it takes me into a whole little romantic kind of genre that I've never even read. So
That's fun. It is fun.
it is.
Fun.
It just kind of takes you out of the element of what's going on for a little while, and you're like, man, that was a good book.
Yes, yes. See,
So good.
yeah, so good. But today, we are wanting to talk to you in regard to the journey that you have been on for a year now. And we just know, and I know that you have helped so many people on this journey with breast cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about when you were diagnosed, what your diagnosis is or was at that time?
Absolutely. So in February of 2021, I had pain in my left breast, and I didn't really think much of it because one of the myths is that breast cancer doesn't hurt, right? It's the silent disease. That's why they tell you to do your own self-exams to feel for a lump. So I felt for a lump, and it felt very large. But it was just the excruciating pain. So I called my doctor. She got me in 2 days. She said, yeah, let's go ahead and go for a mammogram. And you're like, okay,
sure.
Well, so we went in for a mammogram. She got me in the next day. And then they called. 2 days later, I go in for a biopsy. And again, you're still thinking, hey, life is good.
Right.
And then, since it's 2021, being what the last couple of years have been, they call you with your results. So they call me to tell me over the phone that I was diagnosed with HERS2 triple positive stage 2 grade 3 breast cancer. And what all that means is that it's just a different kind of breast cancer. And unbeknownst to me, I did not know there were so many avenues and lanes of breast cancer. I thought breast cancer was breast cancer.
Sure, right, sure, exactly.
So when they told that to me, I was upset because it was over the phone, but I didn't know what to do with the information. What does that all even mean? What is a grade? What's the difference between a grade and a stage?
Exactly.
It has to do with the size of your tumor, how fast it's moving. And I'm like, what the hell is HERS2?
Can we go back to that you got this information over the phone? When I was diagnosed, or when I was told, I was in an office. Oh. My husband was with me because I immediately was trying not to zone out. Yeah. But it was just like all of a sudden it was like I felt like I was in a movie where the camera pans in on you so fast and you don't know what to do. Like it was just like I felt like the world was silent. And it was so weird. So Larry was able to kind of take over a little bit and ask questions. But over the phone,
was Kelly around when you?
No, he was at work because again, we just didn't think that we'd hear back that soon. All this has happened in the span of a week and a half.
Yeah, right.
So we were like, whatever, And another myth is out there is that if you're very small chested, it usually isn't bad if it hurts. So we didn't think that much of it.
Right.
So going back to when they told me on the phone, I think I was so far removed from what they were telling me on the phone. She says, I remember distinctly, she says, I have a book for you here that'll walk you through all the procedures that's going to be up and coming for you, and all the things that are going to need to be done. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I'm thinking, a task book. I can deal with a task book like a checklist.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Still no tears because I think I was still so far removed. So I get in my car, I drive a half hour to go pick up my book. I come home and I start reading it, and it still hadn't sunk in the gravity of it. So Kelly got home that evening, and I told him, and he basically had the same reaction. He was like, what do we do with this information?
Right.
So then we got another phone call back the next day that I would need to see an oncologist the following week. So this was a week of February 17th, the week of February 23rd, and then we went and seen the oncologist, and I started my first chemo on March 17th. Wow. So that's how fast it was going.
So fast.
When we went and seen the oncologist, he explained to us what the HERS2 was and all of this, and I'm still not in tears. I don't know if it was my being naive or thinking if I just keep thinking good thoughts, it's not that bad, or that no one in my entire family has breast cancer.
I was just going to ask.
Exactly, same here.
So you're the only, there's no other, wow.
No breast cancer. So I'm like, well, this can't be that big of a deal.
Right, exactly.
Right?
You can just go in and get things.
Yeah, and
whatever.
I'm still not understanding what hers too was in that. And the doctor spent a good 2 hours with us going through everything. And my husband is a numbers guy. He wants to know what's the percentage of survival, what's the percentage of a hers too, what is triple positive versus one positive. He wants to know all these things.
Yep.
And the doctor took his time with us, the oncologist. And he said to my husband, he says, okay, I'm going to put it in terms that I'm thinking you're going to grasp here with me. He says, think of a car, and you're in your favorite sports car, and you're driving it 80 miles an hour down the road. He's like, that's how fast your wife's cancer is moving at this point.
Oh, jeez.
And that resonated with my husband. And
Sure.
while not everyone may not appreciate that kind of recognition, our oncologist is very good at reading people. And my husband instantly understood. And his whole face
Yep.
just kind of changed.
Sure.
And then he was like in it. He was in the screen. He was wanting to know what the oncologist was talking about. Now, to back up a little bit, to get my husband to go with me to the oncologist, we had to get special permission from the hospital because we were in COVID for my husband to go with me. Right. The only reason he got to go with me was because it was my initial discussion, consultation,
okay.
and laying out our care plan.
Wow.
So he was able to go with me at that point in time.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So what is, and maybe you're going to be, I'm sure that you will be explaining this in a little bit, but what is, when we were talking after you got this diagnosis, I didn't know anything about hers too. I don't, what is that? Tell everybody exactly what that is.
So hers too is a form of breast cancer that gets, hers too is actually cells that break and multiply so quickly that they feed your tumor. Oh. So it's from, when you're triple positive, that means that your estrogen and your progesterone, all that is over stimulating and overproducing in your body.
I see.
So that takes you to hers too, which is feeding your tumor.
Okay.
So some folks can have a breast cancer tumor without being fed by all those things. Mm-hmm. So you can have triple positive, you can have triple negative, and the reason they try and put so much of that information in your line of diagnosis is so that they know what kind of chemo to start you on.
Oh, okay.
So we're in the room. My husband's picturing this car and how fast it's going, and now his face is white.
Right.
But he's listening now. He's intent, right? We're listening. And he's engaged. And so the oncologist is going over what kind of chemo we can start with. He says, we can start you off one, it's called A1, or we can start you off on one that's called TCHP. Your common person like us does not have any clue what the difference is. So he goes through and he says A1 is called the Red Devil. And he says the TCHP is specifically for, it helps target the hormones with hers too. But the A1 is a little bit more aggressive. So had I been up a grade, or up a stage, we might have gone that way. So he explained the two. And I remember thinking to myself, because here I am still naive, I'm like, we can beat this. It's probably like a really bad, I don't know, cold, ache, something that we can cure, right? Mm-hmm. Because I didn't know anyone within an arm's length of me. I knew of people that I worked with that had gone through chemo, but no one that I could really envision in my head doing chemo. So he's explaining to us, and I'm still thinking to myself, and I'm like, ooh, sign me up for the Red Devil. Who doesn't want that?
Right, exactly.
And, and of course you're just trying to deflect and kind of lighten the heaviness in the room. Mm-hmm. So I said, great. When he went through his spiel, and I said, could you give us brochures on both? And we can take them home. We'll discuss them. And then we'll have an answer for you. He's like, no.
Oh, you have to make an answer now?
You have to decide today.
Oh.
You have to decide today because I have to turn it into the insurance, Shannon. We're not waiting 2 months to do chemo. We're not waiting. I need an answer from you today before you leave. I can leave the room and let you guys discuss it.
And were you able to ask him what he or she felt would be the best?
And he felt that since I was on stage 2, which means that it had not progressed outside of that tumor, only to potential lymph nodes, that I could stick with the TCHP and not do the Red Devil.
Okay.
So we're like, okay.
let's go.
Let's do that then. Let's do
Exactly.
it. Let's sign me up. So he has to turn into the insurance. We got the call the day before. We got the call on the 16th in the afternoon that the insurance had gone through and that I would start chemo the next day.
Wow.
Right up.
Jeez.
Talk about right up to the deadline.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
And in the back of your mind, you have a two-way street. At least I did. I'm thinking, great, no call. I don't got to start yet. This is great. I keep on doing my thing. And the other hand, I'm thinking, oh my God, they haven't called yet. I wonder if it's growing. How fast is it growing?
Right.
We have to start on the 17th.
Right.
So all this stuff went through.
So many emotions.
So in between those couple of weeks, it was about approximately 2.5 weeks before we were to start chemo. You also get sent to a surgeon, which they set up for you. The oncologist sets up all your appointments for you.
Good.
And I will be forever grateful for that. I have probably set up one appointment in the last year. Sets an appointment with a surgeon to go in and get a port put in, or you can get a PICC line put in. And that is so they can administer all of your chemo, all of your steroids, all of your medicines, whatever treatment plan you're on, as well as take blood from you, because you have to have your blood taken every time.
And what did you choose for that?
We did the port because he thought that would be better, which goes in your chest, the opposite side of your cancer. So we go in and have blood work done, and they call me and they're like, yeah, we're not doing your port. Your thyroid's out of control.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, I have breast cancer and all this, and you're going to tell me
And now
my thyroid has a headache, so we can't put the port in? So he's like, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
So the first time we went to do chemo on St. Patrick's Day last year, they did it intravenously, which was fine.
Okay.
We were glad the insurance went through. Let's just get the ball rolling. So after that, they played around with my thyroid medicine, and then I was able to get the port in. And the port, it takes a while to get used to.
Okay.
Because it
Showing
does
us right now.
It does. You can feel it in your skin. And the nurses find the little prongs in there to take your blood and hook up all your stuff to it.
So right now it looks like skin is grown over.
Yes.
But they're still able to get in to it?
It's fascinating to me. And,
Okay.
and it goes up to your, it goes up to your vein, and they put that in there.
Okay.
And funny, my husband's a little squeamish. So after we got the port put in and we came home, and you're caring for it, making sure it's okay.
Yeah.
My mother came to stay with us for a few days.
Aww. Our mom's the best.
Yeah.
She is. So
totally.
she came to stay with us. So we got the port put in, and then so TCHP is considered harsh chemo. That's the chemo. They refer to it when you're doing a lot of cancer research as the chemo that takes you to the brink of death and brings you back.
Oh, Shannon.
So there are just days when you sleep. You can sleep all night for 8 hours, and you can sleep during the day for 6 hours. So in the midst of this, we're still in COVID times.
Right.
So my husband got a pass to come in for part of the time on my first chemo, so he could sit in there for part of the time. And then he had to leave after they got it started. And he sat out in the waiting room. So we did the first chemo, and TCHP is such a harsh chemo that after your first session, and your first session is 6 hours, because they give you pre-meds and steroids and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So after we got started, it was fine, because you don't feel pain or anything when you're having it put in. You don't really feel anything.
Okay.
But after your first TCHP, you will lose your hair. You'll start to lose your hair. So at that time, my husband and I were discussing the hair loss. And I know for a lot of women, where it be you love your time, your me time to go to the salon and feel pampered and feel good. If you've gone to the same beautician or the same person or that same friend that does your hair for a long time, it's more than just about your hair.
It sure is.
Yep.
Right.
And then when it comes down to your hair, when you leave there, you feel, damn, I look good. I am empowered. empowered when you leave with good hair, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of weight on that, and it's very divided. Some folks see it as very vain that at this point in time where you could potentially die from cancer, that you are concerned with your hair. Others think of it as, that's my hair.
Yeah.
It's one thing that makes me feel normal.
Right.
And the other thing people have to realize is if you have children, a lot of women don't want their children to see them sick.
Right.
So there is
true.
a much bigger picture to the hair question. I know Melly and I were talking earlier about the hair, and it is such a personal, very personal choice for each woman.
Yeah,
It truly
women's
is.
hair
It truly is.
It's a big thing, and why can't you have both emotions of, yeah, I'm vain, I want my hair, and yeah, I know I'm going through something that could possibly be
Absolutely.
the worst thing ever. You can have both emotions.
Absolutely. You can feel several emotions at one time.
Right.
And your hair might be something that you're known for. At the time, since we had gone through COVID, I hadn't had my hair cut in a long time, so I had almost 2 feet of hair. It was red. It was sassy. I loved it. I loved going to get my hair done. It was me time. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And, but my husband and I talked about it, and for me, it was one thing that I could control.
When we were talking about this last year, it made sense to me.
Yes.
The way that you were describing it and describing it now. It is one thing that you can control.
Because you can't control, did they give me an option of which chemo I wanted? Yes, but do you really know?
Right.
And when you talk about the control, are you talking about the fact that you chose to shave your head?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
it was one thing that I felt I could make the choice.
Yeah.
Not my husband, not my doctors. Me. Shannon, could make that choice of what I wanted to do. So my hairdresser, who I've gone to for years, I text her, and she says, you know what? I'll come to your house.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So she came to our home, and we decided we were going to go ahead and shave my head and get it done, because for me, it was 2 things. It was a choice, a decision for me that I got to decide.
Right.
And
Exactly.
like we were talking earlier, hair's just hair. But in certain situations, regardless of what you're going through, a chronic illness, or breast cancer in a different capacity, it doesn't matter. If it's important to you and it makes you feel good, it's yours.
It is,
Yeah, it's a
yes.
part of you.
It doesn't
Right.
have to be vain. It doesn't have to be one right or wrong. So we decided to shave it. So my hairdresser came over, and we decided that we were going to donate my hair in honor of my 7-year-old niece who had passed away 4 years ago last year when this was happening. She had a rare form of leukemia and passed away. So we were going to donate my hair to there. So 2 reasons. One, I got to make the decision, so I felt empowered, like, even if it's just my hair or cutting my fingernails, it's a decision that I get to
can
make.
do.
Yep.
And I get to pay it forward. So I'm hoping there's some shy little girl out there who has my red flaming hair.
Oh,
yes.
And it is just empowering her and just giving her life.
Absolutely.
So she came over, and my sister-in-law, who was my niece's mom, her name is Shannon. We have the same name. Her and her husband, we put them on FaceTime. And my husband was there, and the hairdresser was there, and we shaved my head. We made like a little party out of it.
Yeah.
And we had some hats ready to go. And honestly, it felt empowering. I felt like I can move forward now.
Right.
And you don't have to see it coming out in clumps or
For
in
me,
different stages.
watching it come out in clumps every day and looking sick with different clumps.
Yeah.
Every day I would be reliving it.
Yes.
And some people say, well, aren't you reliving it by looking at your bald head every day? For me personally, once I got past being bald,
Yeah.
I seen it once, and it's the same every day.
Absolutely.
I'm not continually having to lose something every
Right.
day.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you have some of the best coverings. You just had so many, and they matched all your outfits and everything. But so
Yeah.
you didn't decide to do wigs then?
Me and my husband did go to a wig
Okay.
place that the insurance will help you. So there are resources out there.
Good.
Ask your oncologist, ask your nurse care team. They work with a lot of wig places that will help you. They'll help you push. Some insurances help cover half.
Okay.
Some insurances will pay for one whole wig. So there's lots of options. So oh, please ask.
Yeah,
so we went
right.
and tried on wigs. Me and my husband went. They took you in this beautiful little room, set up in this big princess chair. And so you pick out all these wigs and you try them on. But for me, personally, every wig they put on me, I didn't feel like me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like me. So we settled on a baseball hat that
Yep.
has like an like the back line of your hair sewed to the back of the hat.
Okay.
So if we wanted to go somewhere or something, I could use that. But after I've probably worn it once, and honestly, I wore my hats more than anything.
Right.
They were
Yeah.
comfortable for me. I felt like me.
Yeah.
I felt good.
Right.
And so...
And that's what you chose to.
And that's what I chose
Exactly.
to do.
Yes.
And everybody's different.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you have the choice there
This is
again.
your journey, and this is what. And
Yeah.
we're talking with Shannon Goodsell, who is describing her journey through breast cancer for the last year, and we're so happy that you are here to join us this morning and give us some insight about your diagnosis. And so, what is the next steps for you? First of all, we're talking about hair. Your hair is so adorable.
It's coming back.
Coming back, and it's
Going in.
It
It's
is
pixie.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is so cute.
and it's still sassy.
It
you know what I mean?
is,
Like she's
yes.
still sassy and feisty.
Yeah.
It's growing in, and hats off to all you folks out there who have short hair and style it every day, because I'm your long hair girl. I'm talking, I got no shame. Dry shampoo, and you put that thing in a couple of braids, I'm good to go. Okay, but this short hair deal, it's a lot more work, okay? I don't know if we're going to have a continued relationship, but we'll work on it for right now.
So cute though.
It is so cute.
And it's coming in like curly, and I had straight as a board hair. So we'll see what
So
comes in.
they do say that it does come in. You're a testament to that. It's coming in a little bit different.
Yeah,
So.
kind of different. You
But,
know, so we'll see what happens.
And once it started coming back in, it seems like boom. You know what I mean?
yes. So
Or maybe just because we've talked on the phone,
Yes.
and maybe not seeing you every day or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
right,
so-
it's coming in pretty good now.
Yeah.
So to back up, we finished. We started TCHP chemo March 17th of 2021. I finished in July, and then it was time for the lumpectomy. So we went in and did the lumpectomy at the beginning of September, and many people have asked, why did you decide to do a lumpectomy versus a double mastectomy? And again, I think that's a very personal choice for each female, for each woman, for each human. That's a very, very personal choice. For us, we followed our oncologist recommendations that the cancer had been moving at such a rapid speed. Some women have double mastectomies before they do chemo. And he didn't want to do that because that would open it more at that time before we could really grasp, because the tumor was already over a size 3, and if it continued to grow and get fed,
Okay.
so he wanted to attack it and kill it first.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we followed his, I had no qualms, whichever is best at this point. So
Yeah.
we did the lumpectomy. We got the results back from that, and unfortunately there was some residual cells in there, which they call that residual cancer disease. So that means that you have to do radiation and another round of chemo, but a different kind of chemo.
Okay.
So this kind of chemo is much less harsh. It goes by the name of Catherine trial because it just came out in 2019. So it's very new, and it is Kadcyla. And I still go in every 3 weeks for that, and you have to take 14 doses. So I will not be done with that until August.
Okay.
And then
What are some of the side effects that you're dealing with?
Yeah.
on
from
this new chemo, just in general, the harsh chemo,
You had some pretty bad bouts, didn't you?
yeah, you really didn't want to leave the house because you weren't sure
Yeah.
what kind of things were going to happen.
Sure.
And then there was, on TV, they show a lot of vomiting and they show a lot of different things, but that's not really always
The case.
Yes.
And it could be different for each person.
Yeah,
too.
I would think so.
And your joints ache, your bones ache, something terribly. So you take medications for that, and then you take medications for this, and so on and so forth. And with Kadcyla, there's not as much harsh. It's more bone pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. Yeah.
Well, and I was going to ask you, Melody, when you were diagnosed with breast cancer, did anybody in your family have a history?
No. And that's what they were saying too, is with my age at that point, I want to say I was late 40s.
Okay.
Early 50s, I think it was. I have to stop and think how old I am and when I was diagnosed. Anyway, it has been years ago. I want to say 8 now, maybe. And so mine, I was diagnosed like zero stage, which I didn't know that there was a 0 stage.
Right.
And I found that I had cancer through a mammogram. And I
so you didn't feel anything.
I felt fine.
Sure.
I decided I hadn't had one for a while.
Yep.
And I needed to go.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. And I opted for a double mastectomy, even though the cancer was in one of my breasts. But for me, they told me that if the cancer comes back, it comes back more aggressive.
Right.
And so I just opted for the double mastectomy.
Yeah.
And
then you had reconstruction, so you had
reconstruction
implants.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Immediately afterward, I didn't want to go, any type of.
So you didn't have to do chemo or anything?
I did not.
So you just had the surgery.
I feel like that I was. Who's lucky? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I am because I didn't have to go through radiation. I didn't have to go through chemo. I'm not taking a pill for 5 years.
Right. But then you still lost your breasts.
Yes.
And that's a part of it. So like you said, no one is lucky. It's just the whole way around is.
But I haven't I'm not going through anything near what people are going through with chemotherapy, with radiation and one thing after another and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm lucky. I know that. And so, but when I was talking to Shannon, I didn't know anything about the HERS2, positive, negative, anything about that.
You kind of feel like you have breast cancer. What stage? I think most people know.
Most people are like,
what stage? 1, 5. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was a 0.
And you said there's a positive and a negative of something, and holy cow.
Yeah.
It's like you're speaking a foreign language.
Absolutely.
Just to get diagnosed.
Yeah. So,
my grandma had breast cancer, and I remember, so it does run in the family, and I'm hoping that it doesn't skip a generation. So, yes, I want it to skip my mom, but I wouldn't want it to come to me then.
Right.
But we're not sure. And I just remember, when I'd spend the night at her house and we get ready for bed, and, she'd take off her bra, and one of her bras it was filled, and then one side was and then it was flat. And why don't you have 2? And she told me the whole story, and it was just oh my gosh, okay, and I just remember that now as a little kid, and I'm wondering,
it made an impact on you.
Yeah, and
obviously
you think about that, oh geez. So now I wonder with both of you, when they tell you about certain deodorants with aluminum or talc powder, stuff like that, do you feel that causes breast cancer? Are you more watchful of that when you purchase products?
That's a good question.
Because they're always saying, the aluminum,
right,
under the armpit, and stuff like that. And then it's just well, geez, I don't want to stink, but I don't want it to be doing something
right
to my body in a negative way. So
I would say for me personally, I've been very more mindful of it since talking to the oncologist, because when you are doing the harsh chemo, you can't have, all you can use is baby shampoo. Use baby shampoo to wash with, use baby shampoo on your hair, just because your skin, for one, is extremely sensitive and dry from the chemo, because it eats itself out this way. And it gives you neuropathy on your feet. So, your skin on your feet we're gonna get real here, ladies.
Yeah.
So the skin on your feet can come off in layers where you can hardly walk on them. And so when my mom came to stay, she would rub a certain kind of lotion on there. And yes, to your point, you would get the lotion that the radiologist or that the oncologist or that your nursing team says, here's what we're suggesting you use.
Sure.
And they give you those brands. So
Okay.
then you start almost consciously thinking, what else am I doing?
Right.
Like, I love to burn candles. Okay?
yeah.
So what kind of candles am I burning? What kind of deodorant am I using?
Yep. What kind of face creams?
What kind of face
Exactly.
creams am I using?
Whatever can be absorbed through your skin.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you start thinking of all of those things that could potentially add to it. Because at that point, you just don't want to add to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Right, absolutely.
You've had enough vulnerable moments where, I'm 50 years old and I have my mother over rubbing cream on my feet and I'm in the bathtub and I can't get out and I have to cry for my husband to come get me out. You come to such a low point that you're like, am I ever going to be able to do anything for myself? So again, when you're making those decisions, you're like, it's silly as it may sound to some or small, you're like, I get to decide what kind of deodorant I put on.
Yeah.
I get to decide.
Yep.
I'm going to decide what kind of face cream I'm going to use because those are the things I can control.
Absolutely. Right.
So, yes, absolutely.
Just
Become
kinda
a little
being
bit more
mindful.
mindful and conscious of that. Do a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
To look into that. And just a funny story, back in April, when we're in the middle of COVID, and I'm on my second or third, because in April, I believe I had 2 chemo treatments. I had also went and got the shot, the vaccine.
Sure.
Right.
Because obviously I was immune compromised. So within a 2-week period, I am not a patient person. I'll be the first one. I'm just not, okay? So he's like, you can get the shot and we will get your port put in. Because
Okay.
this was after my first one, right? So we got my port put in. We got the shot done. We went and got chemo done. And by Sunday, I was flat on my ass in my face.
Oh.
Okay, so I told my husband I'm gonna lay downstairs because I'm so hot. I'm gonna lay downstairs. It's April.
Which
lay
is one of the
downstairs in the
side
basement.
effects
Yes.
of chemo.
So I'm laying down there. So by midnight, this might take some of us back a few years. Y'all know how good the bathroom floor feels, right? Don't nobody lie.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
we all been there.
Yep.
Nobody lying here.
Uh-huh.
So I'm laying on the bathroom floor, and my husband had said, "Text me if you need something." And so he comes down. I texted him. He comes downstairs. He's like, "Oh my God, I don't know what to do," because by this time, this was one of the few times I did vomit on chemo because I was dehydrated and the chemo was like black charcoal.
Oh gosh.
Oh, man.
So my husband
And that's scary.
and Kelly's like,
Jeez.
I don't know what to do. I don't know
Right.
what to do. Shake.
What do you...
What,
What,
do you call an ambulance? Do you?
Yeah.
And you're on the
and
floor.
and he just wants to make sure
He wants to fix it.
yes.
he wants to fix
He's
it,
a
and he wants to.
fixer.
He wants
Are
to
you gonna
take
get mad
care
if
of
I call the ambulance or not call? Right?
He's
Because they
considering
want
your
to
feelings.
be.
and-
Yes.
and- yes.
So he called the ambulance, and y'all, I had on, no shame here, okay? Y'all are going to know it all. I had on a pair of Coors Light sweatpants
Yes.
while I'm on chemo,
Oh, she's
okay?
classy.
I'm your girl.
She's a classy
okay?
broad.
And a shirt, a tie-dyed shirt
It's perfect.
for it was for the animals. Let me preface
Okay,
that. It was for the
perfect.
animals
Yes.
for a pub crawl.
For a pub. I was like kind of... Man,
meant-
you had your course. You had a pub shirt.
I'm like,
Oh,
hey,
you know.
we be classy over here on the floor.
Yep. Yep.
And the ambulance is on the way.
Yeah.
And the ambulance is on the way. I got no shoes on because I'm
Right.
not really in the house. I'm just not.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, I also have 2 plates in my mouth for my teeth. So I did not have teeth. I did not have shoes. I had on Coors sweatpants. I had a bald head, and I couldn't see for shit because I didn't have my glasses on.
glasses.
So when the ambulance got there,
Oh,
they're like, "How
God.
you?" Well, so by this time I was coming in and out of being dehydrated
Yeah.
and not feeling well, so I couldn't remember a lot. But there were these 2 big burly guys, and I remember them putting me on that that little 2x4 thing.
Yeah. Little stretcher.
Oh,
thing.
that little
Why is
stretcher.
it so
Yeah.
little?
Yeah. I know, right?
So little.
I need the extra
We've
large.
all been there.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Right?
I just want... Yes.
I'm like, what?
Give me a nice pillow.
Yeah.
On each side.
And they got to carry me up the stairs. And at the top of our staircase, it's got like this little wedgy, windy thing, right? So they're carrying me up the stairs. And the only thing I can remember carrying up the stairs is I'm telling them, I'm so sorry you had to carry my fat ass up the stairs. And they just laughed. And it made me feel better.
Well,
even though I was sick.
You've never lost your sense of humor.
Never.
And that's what we love about it. I'm just like,
You've never lost your sass.
Yeah.
You've never lost your personality. Cancer can do so many things to your body, to your physical appearance, and to a lot of things, but to take away your personality and your sass and your love and
you know what?
Fun,
when
they
you
did not.
Think about it. EMTs, ambulance drivers, all that, they're not coming in to see you look like you're dressed up to go to prom.
You weren't.
They know what
exactly.
They
were expecting a red carpet,
right? They see everybody
with the lights and a disco ball
at their worst.
I felt the need to explain.
I know. I would you. I mean,
in fact, I have. Yeah.
Just go look at my closet. I do have some better, like, just different things.
I wasn't drinking when you got here.
I'm usually cuter than this.
Yeah. In my mind, I am anyway.
Melody's heard that.
Like, oh my gosh.
So we get to the hospital, and I'm remembering a little bit more, and here comes my husband into the whatever little room they have you in right there in ER. And again, we're in COVID, right? So he got to come in for a little bit. And the poor guy is standing there. Most guys bring an overnight bag. Now, my husband has my glasses so I can see my teeth and some shoes.
Hey, that's all you need right now.
That's true. He's like, hey, baby, got your bag.
You got your teeth.
I'm like, did I leave the house without all that stuff?
Oh.
He's like, that's what I thought I should call. So that gave us a little bit of humor. And when we look back on that, that's as odd as it might sound to someone. Everyone's journey is different. I don't want to take anything away from anyone who, has a different view of cancer or their cancer journey is different. By no means, I don't want to mock it or anything like that. But for me and my husband, we look at that now and we share that story because to us, it's the good cells. It's funny. Right. It's who we are.
Yes.
It's kind of a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it
hit home.
It did.
That early on, it hit home that nothing for the next however long is going to be the same.
Yeah.
Right. So, that was a pretty pivotal moment. And then when I couldn't get out of the bathtub, because they said coconut oil is really good for your dry skin, but you just shouldn't put it in the bathtub.
Oh.
It gets a little slicky.
That's true.
Oh. It really would. Like, it would be very, very slippery.
I mean,
so what happened? Like,
he tried to get me out, but he was soaking wet. I was wet. And I'm like, all I kept saying was, I'm so sorry.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh. So, and then there was another pivotal moment that I joined some groups on Facebook. And social media, as we know, especially in these times, can be helpful or hurtful. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of have to pick what you're going to follow. Is it feeding me what I need, or is it feeding into something that I don't need?
Right.
So I joined a lot of the groups about chemo and that hers too, so that I could learn some tips and tricks, right? Because who else better than a resource has been through it? So we read on there that when you start losing your hair, even though you shaved your head, some of it is still spiky, some of it is still coming out, because you can shave your head with the electric razor, but you can't shave it with like a razor like you'd shave your legs with, because you can get cuts. And if you have an open cut, when you have cancer, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So they said use a lint roller. So I told my husband, listen to this crazy shit. These girls are using a lint roller on their head. Listen to this crazy shit. And he's like, let's do it. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
And it turned out to be like a head massage.
Oh,
really?
So it's a good.
So when the little pieces are starting to fall out where you can't do a close shave, you use that lint roller on there, and it just rolls those little pieces right out of there.
Okay.
And it feels like a little massage.
Well, that's good.
That's a very,
so
very
see,
good.
Those kind of tips and stuff are something that you can take from social media and pass on to someone else.
Helpful to someone who's going to be listening.
Absolutely.
Is listening right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If someone would like to reach out to you, Shannon, can they? I know that you are very forthcoming and about your journey and about what you're experiencing, and we appreciate that. And if someone would like to reach out to you, email address, or to see about their journey or ask you any questions, are you open to that?
Facebook or
Absolutely. You can send me a message on Facebook. On Facebook Messenger, you can send me a message on Instagram.
Excellent.
You can send me a message on my email.
What's your email address?
It would be S as in Shannon, GOODSE70 at Comcast.net. Any question, and I'm not the be-all, end-all, but for the love of God, I will help you find a resource or help you, help direct you. There are so many resources out there that aren't even known. Insurance, most insurances, 90% of them will pay for special bras for you while you're during radiation. The sleeves for your arm, if you're going to go on an airport, the compression sleeves.
Yes.
Physical therapy, how they word it to the insurance, if you're going to have lymphoderma, if it's just physical therapy, depends on how much the insurance is going to cover. So anything that I can help you with or that I can answer, that I can ask my social worker for, I have no problem. She's on part of the care team to help you. I'm with Northwestern. That's where my husband has insurance through. And there's a whole care team. There's a dietitian that comes in and talks to you periodically. The nurses, the social workers, they check on you. All of that group of people, if I can get them to give me some resources if you're in a different insurance branch
That's
or whatever,
awesome. Like,
that I can help you
That's so
with,
good.
because you have to be your own best
You have to
advocate.
be- you
have to
do.
ask
Be
questions.
proactive.
You certainly do. 'Cause
My husband makes fun of me because every time we go to the oncologist, he'll cover my blood work and all the things to make sure that I can go through with chemo the next day or that day, and then he'll say, "Do you have any questions?" And he'll giggle and now he's like, "What questions did you bring this week?" Because
he knows.
I always have a question because I want to know what's next, or when can I start eating raw fruits and vegetables? Are we still doing frozen, or can I use them but wash them off really good? What supplements can I be taking now to help with the bone pain?
Sure.
What is safe to take? What is not? Because you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul with your supplements. So anything that I can help you with. Several women have sent me pictures. There's no judgment. If you want to send me pictures, I had a gal send me a picture of her lumpectomy and asked me if this rash that she had looked right. By all means, I will try and help you. in the way that I can.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about you, that you are open and just even as far as if somebody needs a friend that's going through the same thing.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
always there for
Absolutely.
everybody, and you can always send us a message as well, and we
yeah,
can get it
and
to Shannon.
I was going to ask, your Facebook is Shannon Goodsell, and then Instagram, how do you have it?
It's all one word. It's Shannon Goodsell all together.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
And my Facebook is Shannon J. Goodsell because my sister-in-law is Shannon Goodsell. So
That's
there's
right.
two of us
So
on
you're
there.
Shannon J.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There's two of us. The world should be scared. So there's two of us. Yes. Yes. So for those of you that want to ask questions, please feel to reach out along this journey or the journey that you're on, or if you have a chronic disease journey that you're on. Have no expectations because family, friends that you expected to be there for you or that you didn't even think about, it never crossed your mind, because in your heart you're like, oh yeah, that person will be there, check, I can get that done, check, that'll help. Things change, things shift, people don't know what to say, regardless if it's
very
family. That can become very bumpy
Sure.
in many folks' journeys. And as I've reached out to some of the girls I've gone to school with, that is one of the biggest, that's probably the top 3 things that we talk about. If we can't sleep at night, some of us got a little group message we got going on, is how our family members and friends and how certain ones have come through for you like you never even thought of.
Sure.
And how others, you're like, where the hell has this person been?
Yeah.
Right.
But again, you have to decide, and it took me months. It took me a few months. You have to be willing, again, to think enough and appreciate yourself and give yourself some grace that you can't carry that load.
Right.
So draw yourself some boundaries. Boundaries doesn't mean I don't love you. Boundaries doesn't mean that I don't appreciate your loving me the best way you know how. Boundaries means that I can't carry the way that my expectations didn't turn out for me at this time. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to have boundaries. It doesn't mean that you don't love one another. It's just healthy for me at this time.
Yeah.
Is it going to hurt?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
When you can't
Because
expect you in other people. Because I know Shannon Goodsell is there for everybody, but it's not always going to be that way. So and for me too.
You've said that before, and it's so true.
It is.
Don't expect you from somebody else.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that is, whatever situation it is, everybody is an individual, and it just
you'll save yourself anger, sadness, stuff like that when you know to not expect yourself in other people.
Right.
No,
Good.
not everybody thinks like you do. So it's okay.
right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good because it's a bumpy journey when you start going down that way with your expectations, and you got to give yourself some grace too.
Yeah.
Right.
When you're going down that journey, and I like to think of it as you're carrying this backpack, and you're out backpacking, and you're out on a journey, and you need to find a safe space where you can sit down and unpack your backpack. A safe space for you to land where there's no judgment, where you can feel multiple things at a time. I can laugh and cry in the same sentence with my husband, and there might be an incident of pee my pants once in a while because things happen.
Hey,
we're keeping it real over here on this Saturday morning, okay?
I wet my pants with Melody before.
Let's keep
so
it real, you listeners, okay?
gosh.
So you unpack that backpack, and you have to find somewhere safe to unpack it.
Yeah.
It may depend on what's in your backpack that day. So I know early on, I knew Melody had been a breast cancer survivor, so she was one of the first people that I shared with because I knew it would be a safe space to land.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then as that backpack gets heavier, because then we're women, we get into that comparison deal. So-and-so has cancer and they're still working. Why am I not? Or so-and-so is doing this, or so-and-so is doing that. And so you let your mind just race. And my husband continuously tells me, your job is to get better.
Yep.
And that's very dangerous to go down that rabbit hole. And to
You could
compare
sink in there.
yourself. And no matter what journey that you're on,
Absolutely.
it's terrible.
Yes.
It really, totally, truly is.
We just
don't let your mind
go crazy down that rabbit
Don't
hole.
do that.
Right.
And especially as women, we were talking earlier, as women, we think, I'm going to go to work, and if you have children, I'm going to take care of my children, and I'm going to run a full-time job, and I'm going to do chemo. There's no prize at the end.
it all.
And I'm going to keep a
Like,
perfect
you know what?
house, and I'm going to do
Yes,
it's like,
there's no prize at the end. You know what the prize is?
Your
If you
health.
take care of yourself and your kids get to see you, how strong you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So I think...
Whoops, we're not at Courtney's house. We're at my
Somebody's
house with Miss Polly Pocket, and I think Kelly's here. Shannon's
Flynn.
open.
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
that's live podcasting for you.
That is it.
Look at your guard
Girls,
dogs.
Please. Come on. You know that we're recording.
So the backpack also has to be when you feel like sharing it with who you want to share it with. Like right now, there are certain folks in my family. It's not a safe space for me to unpack my backpack.
Okay.
Right.
And for my husband, there has to be certain times when you can unpack that backpack, when you have to talk about adult things like a will, a trust.
Yeah,
And so we're going to take care of that in March. But it took a whole year for us to get to that point.
The timing and
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, girls, you be your best advocate. You love you like you would love someone else who had cancer. And you carry that backpack around and you unload it. And some days you're going to cry. You're going to cry all day. And you're going to be mad. You might break a few things. You might not get out of your pajamas for 3 days. But you know what? Let yourself feel that. Don't squash it down. Just don't sit in it.
yeah, that's good. Feel it, but don't stay there.
Yes.
In those feelings.
Yeah.
Yes, because you
It's
have
okay.
to feel
You
it.
gotta
If
feel
you're
it.
going through those stages, let yourself feel it.
but don't stay there in the dark. And
find yourself a community. And I have been, I can't even tell you, that'll bring me to tears. I have been extremely overwhelmed, blessed, and humbled by how many folks have reached out to us. We've had blankets that people have made and sent to us, cards, little gifts like you guys have sent. It's just, it's amazing. And again, that's the journey that I chose. So on Facebook, if you want to send me a message, I do share some on my regular social media platform, but I also have a cancer group where I share more details, because I don't want, not everyone wants to know, and I'm cool with that. But if you want to be in the group and kind of find out and just kind of hang out in there and lurk behind there and send me some private messages, by all means, I'm open to anything. Want to meet for coffee and talk about hair? Hey, we can do that too. Or talk about no hair. Whatever you like.
That special group, that's the Goodsell's Gambit?
Yes.
Is that, now, can somebody find that, or do you have to invite somebody to like that?
They can just shoot me a private message on Facebook. Perfect. And then I can let them in.
Okay.
Excellent.
In the group. Yeah. And that's just to be mindful of other folks that are in there, because right now I can tell you there's 4 other people in that group who have cancer, who have decided not to share their journey. But one woman in there is gaining strength from that group. So my tribe is wrapped their arms around her without even knowing it.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
So, by all means, you want to be in there and get some love? We'll take you.
It's a good place to get
Yes.
some love.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Woo-hoo.
Shannon, I hope that you join us again. And
Thank
because I
you.
know that there's a lot more that we probably didn't even cover today. But this is longer than what we normally go.
Yeah, I kind of thought it would be
necessary. Absolutely, and
Yeah.
we're happy to do that. So we invite you to come back anytime that you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And looking forward to that day when
Me
you're
too.
bave again. So
Thanks, ladies.
We have more mimosas to drink.
we do.
We gotta go.
We do. We do have to go.
Some little nuggies.
But you've had the last few times about the be bold. The ending question.
The ending question. So our saying has become be bold. Melody and I in the last year had to be bold in some areas of our lives. So we wanted to ask you, how are you staying bold?
I love that question. I'm staying bold because I feel empowered by the group that's around me. So I'm staying bold by sharing, obviously like today, sharing a lot of details to stay bold in hopes that it'll help someone else intrigue a question where I can help them.
Perfect. A candid conversation this morning. Inspirational and
super informative.
Very informative.
Yeah.
With Shannon Goodsell. Thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us
Thank you,
this
ladies.
morning. We appreciate that.
So friggin' cute.
Absolutely. And we'll be back again next week.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, everybody have a great rest of the weekend.
Yes.
Until we see you again, stay positive, test negative, and thanks for shopping at Melody Mart.
See ya!